Right. So good to be back on Wildcat Fanalytics with my co-host Mike Defoe outside, looking like he's ready to jump on the Harley.
From
How
just staying warm in those blustery SoCal winters. It's like
it's a rough life.
66 out. It's kind of windy.
So we had an exhibition game against Point Loma last night, Division 2, prominent Division 2 program, which I learned
Yeah.
4-2, but prior to last night, 4-2 in its last six games against Division 1 opponents.
Hmm.
And interestingly, I don't know if you heard this on the broadcast, they were the only Division 1 team not to have a player leave or enter the portal. Like it's an entire roster continuity. And even
Yeah.
more impressively, last year was that coach's first year.
Oh, I didn't know that was his first year.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the continuity is super, super cool, right? I mean, like that's incredible. They talked a lot about it on the broadcast. And I used to live right down the street from them, in Point Loma in San Diego, and I get why. I mean, it's a heck
Mm.
of a spot. It's gorgeous. But I thought it led to some pretty darn good play on their side of the ball, despite maybe the physical differences. That they're outmatched physically and athletically, but they did a good job. They put
They
up a fight, especially in the
weren't,
first.
yeah, they weren't afraid.
No, mm-mm, not at
So
all.
let's a lot of respect for Point Loma, and that leads us to our Bear Down Awards for the night. What are you highlighting as the sort of like pinnacle moment or player that you saw?
I'm just going to ring Jaden Bradley's bell. I'm going to take it. This is easy. I just he just is so thoroughly stepped up. And again, it's early. It's these are two exhibition games, but he is just so thoroughly stepped up to be clearly the leader of this team in my eyes. And his offensive game has become much more well-rounded. I send this tape to Braden Burries so that he sees that there is an opportunity once Jaden goes to the NBA after this season.
Yeah, that was a little video of him actually going to the rim off of a made basket, which I
Yeah.
thought
Oh wow.
was impressive as Point Loma is sort of celebrating this ridiculous shot, which actually was one of our better defensive sets. And then
I thought we actually got the stop, and
we,
and I'm
yeah,
like, oh my god,
everybody's back. Everybody's back. He goes past
whoop,
all five.
that's awesome. I
Emblematic.
was I
His,
was legitimately like jotting down. I'm like, we got a shot. I think I was asking the last one, like, can we get some shot clock violations? Like that would make me happy about,
we
like that
got one
was
at the end of the half.
we did get one, yeah, yeah. But yeah, shout out Jaden. 5 assists, no turnovers. Displayed a pretty well-rounded offensive game. Um, yeah, he looks like the best Arizona point guard since TJ. That's a
That
long
was my
time.
comp. Nice. That was my comp last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what I think you're hitting on that's so exciting is for the first time in the Lloyd era, we have a point guard who is not only willing but able to attack the paint, and that seems like
Yeah.
the default. But on top of it, as you pointed out many times, he's very comfortable with the 12 to 17 foot pull up if you're in drop. Um,
Yeah.
you're helping, and the 3 point shot is coming along. Uh,
Yeah.
he
He's
shot 46% last year, but it was on such low volume. It was all premium shots, which is awesome. But obviously, he's gonna be tested a little bit more. My producer's a little slow today, but he's
uh,
gonna show you
he he's showing that ability to punish you if you go under, right?
that.
And KJ as well. Um, and so
Yeah.
it's not just, hey, I'm just getting a catch and shoot.
So this is the possession after KJ shot when they went under, and here this guy's gonna go
Yeah.
under on a Waka. And
Back to back, right? Yeah.
what I like is there's no hesitation,
None at all.
super smooth.
Love it.
Yeah.
Him and KJ both, like that was it was nice that it was early because I mean I'm just jotting notes as best I can, and then eventually like I stopped the ability to jot notes. I'm just locked in on watching. Um, those are two very early examples of things that we were looking for. Are these two guys going to be able to threaten and force a defense to respect their 3 point shot? And they just did it right there.
Yeah. One more while we're on Jaden, if that's all right,
Yeah, man.
because
It's
I
a
think
Jaden Love fest.
this you can speak a little bit about the oddity we've had at point guard for the first 3 years. Kerr certainly was willing to fight, but wanted no part of the lane and
Mm-mm.
couldn't defend, even though I think he was a competitor. And then Boswell was timid in his specific ways as well. What I love about Bradley here is not necessarily the shot selection. So here he's going to actually dribble into
Oh,
it.
it's so funny.
But have you ever seen him dribble into a three? That's a new.
No,
So
no,
what
I mean, I haven't. No.
so what I like here, if you're watching this and it's not too choppy, um, watch his reaction because I think this tells us about where his growth is headed and has come from. I mean, that's guarded, but watch his. So you get a little bit of a reaction of just like a little bit of chest
Mm.
puffing, which I
Yeah,
love.
yeah,
Even though I don't want that to be something, that shot selection to be something he fixates on. I love the confidence.
yeah. He's just using with it right now, right? And I don't. I again, it was such a question mark of. I know there's plenty of what we saw that we liked. It was just such a question mark of, hey, is this guy going to be it? And he looks at
Yeah. Awesome.
you. So what do you got? Who did you have, or what did you have for your bear
Yeah,
down
yeah,
moment?
yeah. I know we
Yeah,
sometimes go with players. So I have a combination. I think what
yeah.
I was looking for was this was the first chance that we got to see a competitive response. And what I'm looking for in
Mm,
gauging a team's ceiling is how hard do they play when it doesn't really matter for the outcome. I think this game was not really in too much of a threat of losing, even though
right.
they scored 45 on us in the first half. They did a nice job. We almost scored 60. We also missed two front ends of 1-and-1s at the end of the first, and we could have had 64 points pretty easily, at least 63. And we could have come out and just done the kind of thing where it's 14 and then it's 12 and then it's 16 and then it's 10 and then it's 13 and just kind of yo-yo and then
Yeah.
maybe we win by 19. And so my bear down moment was that first 5 minutes in the second half. I think we went out 13-0.
Dang.
And and the defensive intensity was palpable. The stops were really impressive. We came out and realized that we had the ability to draw fouls, and we did that. And so here's, I think, something that I was really excited about coming out in the first possession of the second half. You had a high low from Townsend. And so I hope I got this right. Here he's going to pop out. And because he can shoot, you see his guy is playing for the three because he's been shooting off
Yeah.
the catch. And that opens up the seal from Waka, who's just been burying people, as you noted, the whole
Yeah.
game. And so now that you've got this space, he does a great job of getting space so there's room to throw it over the top. And we didn't know, right? We kept saying, is Townsend going to be a
Yep.
guy who can facilitate? And here's a nice soft touch into the post, and you get the foul.
So
Um,
good.
so to me, that was really encouraging. Um, there were several plays. I'm gonna go back and forth here just to make it a little cleaner for the viewer. This was another one where again we're up 15. We don't need to be. This isn't March,
Yeah.
and Townsend is going to not only slide his feet to stop someone with a head of steam, but he's going to tie up the ball handler. Um, Look at this, and
Yeah. I loved this play.
he's one on one. He's on an island there,
Yeah.
and he gets the stop. So
And
indicative of a competitive fire that we just, again, we don't know if it's going to be there in February, but it's a really great starting point.
yeah, I want to speak to Trey's reaction after that tie up as well. Just to your point of similar to JV's reaction after his main bucket.
Yeah.
Um, that was business.
Mhm.
There wasn't a whole lot of yapping to the other guy or looking at him or fussing over, hey, he fell on top of me. He just he did what he had to do. He got aggressive and was able to tie it up, and then got back to playing basketball for Arizona,
Yeah.
which yeah, I love the professionalism in that response. Yeah, it was very cool.
And being
Um,
excited to play and being excited to compete. I think that's what we're looking for here more than point spread. do you want to come out and compete? And I think I texted you, you gave up 45 points. I don't think it was a lazy 45 points. I think it was Point Loma had a great scheme to take advantage of our overplaying.
Yeah.
And I wondered if we'd adjust. And, they scored 19 points in the second half. The last little bit I want to show here on Townsend, just to give him credit, because I have been one of the most critical of his, is we noted last time the 3-point shot being
Mhm.
adding a whole other dimension. We knew he could shoot, but again, we didn't know if he was going to be Jaden Bradley 13 for 30 or if he's going to shoot two, three, four shots a game. He shot five in the first half last time. So here he's going to come off the
Crazy.
screen. And this is a catch and shoot like a guard in this set. This is what we want from Del Orso, Love, Lewis. But watch this catch with the defender right
It's
there.
awesome.
I mean, tell me about that.
Turn and launch.
Up and out.
Yeah, we just didn't. I don't think we expected it, right? I don't think we expected him to have that fluidity and the confidence as a score as a 3-point shooter. Um, and so it is making me reconsider, what I viewed him at before he came here, and you know, I'm bumping him up. His stock is rising, right? You showed the passing, um, the effort that he's giving. He dove on the floor for a loose ball last night. Um, and then, this guy could think of himself as like, oh, I was mid-major player of the year. I was, kind of a star, kind of darling of the tournament. Maybe I don't have to. And obviously he's just thinking, how can I be a better basketball player? Because he's really stepped up his game over the summer and showing himself to be a very skilled and high effort player. It's cool.
It's another example of why we want to be cautious about over investing in analytics,
Yeah,
you know? And
true.
when I watch the kid and I listen to him and I hear about his story being a walk-on, um, following his parents' legacy at Oakland, and I watch the intensity and the passion that he plays with, I care less and less about his rim finishing. And I really think in this offense, if he can discern how he's useful
Yeah.
and do that with decent efficiency, then he's going to help us. And I think his anticipation on defense is really good. The guys, I think you sort of summarized this with Del Orso this summer. The guys who aren't great with their feet on defense, Del Orso,
Yeah.
Townsend, Carter, um, they're really good with their hands and they're really
Yeah.
good with anticipation. So he makes up for all of that so far with just incredible heart and strength and willingness. So tip of the cap, Trey. Yep.
One other thing that I noticed on the block that he had, I think it was a block, right? Yeah, the
Mhm.
block that he had. And then I think it was Sutton on the call noted, that he was that Trey Townsend was a like state champion high jumper or something like that.
Yeah. I heard that
Yeah,
too.
so yeah, and so I think coming in, I discounted his athleticism more than I ought to have. He really can pop, even just from a standstill.
I think he was, I think I heard that he was like maybe 6'5", 190 coming out of high school or 185 or something. So,
Wow.
high jumpers have these like super long,
Yeah.
thin bodies and they can sleek. So he may have just really thickened um, in the last 4 years, and he's
To our
using
benefit.
to our benefit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, we're going to take it one game at a time because I think as the physicality and the size of the opponents ramps up, I think his translatable skill set narrows. But I think what I'm seeing is he can offer many, and this to credit to Tommy, he
Yeah,
probably,
I hear you.
yeah, like no shit, dude. I could have told you this in April. He's playing for the win, and he doesn't. I don't think he really cares if he scores 20 points, but he's not afraid to either, which is huge. You noted it last night on Mike's pod. Shout out AZ Wildcats podcast
Yeah.
for your Arizona sports enthusiasm. You noted it. Like there is value in bringing in experienced guys who know what it's like to get 20 a night.
Yeah. Yeah. That was and we're not seeing the offensive production that I expected out of both Love and Del Orso, but we are seeing it out uh, of Trey, and so the offense looks fantastic, and I think that just speaks to, look, guys can have an off night or an off couple of nights, or there's so many um, offensive machines that can generate offense within this roster now. It's cool. It gives me a lot more. Tommy always talks about having kind of resiliency, and that, I think that's a form of resiliency in team makeup
Mm.
that you've got sort of redundancies on, I got my one guy who can go off, I need him to go off, or maybe I got one guy and then, players 2A and B that could maybe be there. And really it feels like we've got a collection of guys that can go explode. And so if one isn't exploding, another probably is. It's pretty cool.
What did you see from game one to game two that feels noteworthy?
I didn't see as much, and maybe it was the offensive scheme, and I really of Point Loma, so I want to watch it back again. I didn't see as much of the defensive. I think we just played straight man to man. Um,
Sorry, Fry Rice.
and I don't know. Yeah, that was part of it. Fry Rice on wildcatauthority.com. As always, we're shouting out.
Next
Uh,
time.
Wanted us to note when they played the 2-3 zone again, because they did it in that first game. I didn't see any zone. I don't remember Point Loma running even a bunch of ball screen stuff at all. So I'm not even sure how much. I do remember Awaka hedging really hard and then
Mhm.
recovering at one point. Um,
I got one for you.
but it was a, do you? Yeah.
There weren't many though. Yeah.
It was a little perplex, for me that was one of those things where I was like, okay, cool. I was so excited from the first game to see so many different defensive looks. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to feast on all these different looks for tonight. And I didn't see it. And that was, left me wanting.
Yeah.
So that's probably because of who Point Loma is more than it is about what we're doing.
Totally. So sorry for the endless political attack ads on YouTube, but here's one of
Almost
the
there.
here's one of the few yeah, here's one of the few ball screen sets that I caught on here. There are probably
Yeah.
others, and in this case, it's Henry and KJ. I don't think it's like a groundbreaking example, but it's what was given to me.
Yep.
But describe kind of what you see in Henry's response. I think this is kind of maybe classified as a shallow drop.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's a shallow drop and a good one where
He
he's not
contained.
instinctively backpedaling continuously. He's playing a contain of the ball handler, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
I like the containment here. I'm going to do it again.
yeah. And then Henry's wingspan, allows him to soak up a lot of space.
So here he
Yeah.
is.
So look how low he gets.
Mhm.
And so, if we were thinking about a Ballo drop from last year, especially the beginning of last year, instead of being up on that 3 point line, yeah, exactly. He'd be back towards the free throw line, and just saying, "Hey, look, if you feel like taking a dribble jumper, go for it. We're just not going to give you the middle." It's a choice. I didn't love it at all times, but it's very cool. It is cool to see Henry um, pushing up towards the line and
Can he do
um,
this? Can he do
containing in
with
space.
his feet? Can he do this, you think?
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's
Yeah.
look. We didn't know what Henry could do 2 weeks ago. That's sort of, I
Is he
guess,
in the
maybe
lottery?
before Red Blue. Yeah. I'd like to think so. Yeah. That's one of those things where I expected him to be able to do that coming out of Europe. That he's got really good mobility for his size, and um, right there you see again how low he got. His hip depth looks great. His fluidity looks great. So athletically, I think he can pull it off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they scheduled Point Loma because I'm not sure you learned too much against Eastern New Mexico.
No.
Point Loma to me looks like a top 100, 150 Division One team. Definitely top 100 offensively.
Yeah.
You've got Division One level guys there. You've got more than anything, you've got Division One level culture, and
Hmm.
what I mean is like they outperform the individual
Yeah.
parts with their system. And like Tommy said after the game, they contain elements of their offense is elements of their offense are going to be seen throughout lots of teams that we play.
I thought that was so interesting, and it makes me want to go back and check out what they were doing again. Obviously, I was more focused on our guys than I was theirs. But I do wonder, what is it about their offensive system that Tommy was referring to? Maybe people smarter than me can comment in the follow up. What's up with Point Loma that they're doing that we're happy to get experience on now. Curious.
And I think what I don't know if what they were doing in the half court was revolutionary. I think what I noticed about them was they would push. They were really
Yeah, yeah,
like their guards were getting downhill from the inbound.
yeah,
And I think they generated a lot of like they got into the paint because of that. And so even in this like early possession, this is just an example of how in the first half they took advantage of our overplay. I think this is Love um, guarding the ball out of bounds. Um, let's see, on the switch. And so when you get beat off the dribble, basically they're four out. So I think a
yeah.
lot of teams are going to play four out first of all.
Okay.
And I think this puts into play the importance of being really fundamentally sound with our on-ball defense. Because as soon as he gets beat, there's a collapse. We go for the steal, and then you've got a spot up three. And so I think just like that basic um, sort of test of it's almost like the
Yeah,
line of scrimmage. Can you just hold the line of scrimmage? And we did a much better job of that in the second half, and they weren't able to score.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought that was a really good response, and I was waiting to see. I knew we could outscore them, um, but I think like that's been part of the my hesitation of the last two teams to be able to really say this team's got what it takes to compete against the big boys because you can't outscore UConn. You're not going to win.
No, yeah.
Can't outscore Alabama if you're just going to play that level of defense.
We're trying to be a top 10 defense and offense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Point Loma having that continuity allows them to be, it's continuity is a force multiplier, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have that really. I think that's what's left me with in a bit of a perplexed state. I feel a little dissatisfied, honestly, after watching the game. It
Mhm.
wasn't as I thought there was a lot of individual performances that were a ton of fun and that were encouraging. I didn't love the connectedness and cohesion of either really the offense or defense. Um, and so, look, Tommy seems happy and the guys, seem happy. And obviously that's a good score and a great second half that we put together. But um, I don't know. I'm not quite there yet. We'll see.
What would you be looking for? If you
Yeah,
a couple
you know,
examples.
I didn't so on the offensive side of the ball, are we running anything or are we just sort of are we getting into like second and third pieces of action, or are we just kind of beating guys because we're a bigger, better team? And look, that doesn't hold. That's great, right? Look, I mean, take the easiest stuff that's available. That's how you win a basketball game, but it's not going to be like that stuff. Bullying your way to the rim isn't going to be available coming soon, probably not as prevalently.
Right.
Um, and so, what does that look like when it's more of a chess match? Um, you know, we're just we didn't, it didn't, we're not playing that game right now.
Yeah.
So at least in my eyes, I need to go back and triple check, but I didn't see a whole lot about what I felt like was a structured offense. Beyond like, hey, you guys make your own decisions out there, and besides the out of bounds stuff, we had an insane out of bounds play to Carter, right? Who came in for the
Mm.
slam.
Yeah.
Oh my God, was that nice? We got to go find that clip eventually.
Mhm.
Um, and on the defensive side of the ball, like stuff like that, like look, even great defensive teams scram like that, where they scramble and recover, and you have a couple of guys going after this to the ball up to the ball handler at the same time, just because it's effort.
Mhm.
Fine. Um, I'd like I'd like to see them just be a little bit more disciplined in knowing, especially after one breakdown, like you know, we don't need everybody collapsing at the same time, and so just
Right.
having the having the confidence of who rotates where.
Yes.
Um, it's really difficult to play on a string defensively. Is difficult. If anybody's ever been a part of a strong defensive team, they know how difficult that is and that it takes reps. Um, and it takes cohesion if you want to be sort of ahead of the game. And so I don't think that we're ahead of the game right now. I guess that's where I'm getting to. Where this is still very much a team that is building and gelling. I think that's going to continue to happen into January.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I I don't know what the outcome is going to look like in the non-con. I don't know if it's going to be, as incredibly successful as we have been in the past 3 years, but under Tommy. But um, I'm excited to see where the team takes it by the time we make it to the conference play.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised that we get to role reverse here. Usually I'm the I'm the like guard, I'm the guarded one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I appreciate what you're saying, and in this case, I'm actually bullish on the energy and effort that I'm seeing,
cool.
and I think that in a way is more foundational.
Hmm. I
I
get
think
that.
I think if I could only have one, I'm taking energy and effort,
I like that.
and yeah, it's going to take a measure of both to beat the best. And our feedback is based on championship feedback. We're not giving fifth place in the Big 12 feedback. If we want to be fifth place in the Big 12, we can make those mistakes and probably go 13-7. And we probably could play really well and go 13-7. Um,
Yeah, that's
but
definitely the source of my anxiety is the expectation. It's like if we
yeah, right.
really want to be,
Right. And I think the plight of the Arizona fan, as we've well documented, is that we've got this sort of dry spell, and it's
or
almost lingering into curse territory for some folks. I don't feel that way, but I definitely feel like it would be nice to be invited to the party kind of thing.
it would be.
And to see, I think what's hard is like we see these games that nobody else sees, and we're like, man, this is really, this is special. I'm under no illusion that, we're better than everybody, but I think like the type of ball that Tommy brings and the way they play, when they play well, it's really special. I remember telling my UConn friends this when I watched Lute Olson's teams for enough years. I'm like, look, it's not always pretty, and they're gonna not show up 5 times a year, and it's gonna drive me crazy. But when they hit right, there's nothing like maybe Roy Williams, Kansas teams are the
Yeah,
closest,
yeah.
but like when they're rolling, like
They are
they
rolling.
they put up 40 points in 10 minutes. Um, those Salim days and like the 97, 98. If you look back at some of
The
those
kind of
scores, I think they scored 127 points, in a conference game.
That's crazy. The kind of death runs that the loot teams would
That's
go
right.
on were
My
really awesome to
goodness.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had never been able to see the second round game of the 98 team, which, arguably was maybe the second or third best team of all time.
yeah.
Sure, somebody could make an argument that it maybe even is the best team. I never saw that game. It was against a pretty good Southern Illinois team, I think, or Eastern
Hmm.
Illinois, Illinois State, Illinois State. Sorry, and I think we won like 99 to 60 or something. And I'm watching the game, and we're down like 10 minutes into the first half, and then it's just like a 35-2 or something. It's like Terry, Bibby, Dickerson.
Absurd.
I mean, like you just couldn't even get a pass off.
Yeah,
Um, and again, like that doesn't translate when you can't steal the ball, right? And so I think what we're looking for is can you can you be a mature and connected enough defensive unit where you can sense when it's okay to go for the pick six
yeah,
and when you just need to be solid.
yeah,
And that's what I think that's the maturity piece. And that's what time will tell. We're going to get tested right off the bat here pretty quickly.
yeah,
And I'm sure there'll be some mistakes, but I'd rather err on the side of over aggressive and playing really hard um, than just keeping it too safe.
yeah. I agree.
What about offensively? Did you see anything as you step back in these two games yeah, from the game one to game two that piques your interest?
Yeah, again, I didn't see system wise. I didn't see anything that was sort of honestly even impressive or all that notable beyond. Um, and I really like the way a few guys are playing. I think KJ, Jaden, and Trey, both games, there doesn't seem to be any question about how they're fitting into this thing. They fit. Um, they just they look fantastic, and so that's really great. I think maybe that there's question marks about every guy having to do something. Guys stepping up into the starting lineup, guys stepping up in the conference, guys reforming their game in some way. Um, yeah, I want to see more of getting Caleb and Deli involved, but I guess you don't need to structure that stuff if you're just whomping the other team anyways with like 60% field goal percentage and 40% from three
Mm.
um and you're generating a ton of fouls. You know, and maybe maybe it's not necessary at all. Or maybe I'm being greedy. I just, you know, maybe that's my preconception of what this team was supposed to be, is that we were supposed to have these two, you know, incredible scorers on the wing, in Deli and Love, and them being less a part of the play because the primary ball handlers and KJ and Bradley are just, you know, generating offense on their own.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it still may come.
yeah, that's what I mean. Is again, this level of competition, it does show you some stuff. It doesn't show you everything.
Yeah, they
Um,
haven't. I mean, we've pretty much gotten what we've wanted. And keep in mind, that's without Krivas, who should be
yeah,
like one of the, I would imagine, one of the 5 or 10 best like rim gravity players in the country this year. However you
can,
quantify that. Can Fry Rice or somebody quantify like overall rim gravity impact? Is that a stat?
I'm sure he'll figure that one out for us.
You find,
Yeah.
you know what I
I
mean
want,
though, like just drawing attention, like a rim magnet, you know?
yeah, I want to draw attention to what we're going to see. Imagine the high low to Krivas and how easy of, you know, like when it's a Waka and you have to like kind of
Yeah.
drop it in,
Yeah.
like the high low to Krivas
Yeah.
isn't like a little teardrop. It's just like a laser straight to the
Throw,
rim.
throwing a paper airplane.
Yeah. And now I'm imagining Henry
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
Mo,
Mm.
um, because Henry's passing looks great. His touch from being, you know, he's way up there, and so he can just kind of do this little kind of drop to toss it in nice and gentle. But man, Henry to Mo high low is just going to be absurdly
We
difficult to defend.
we haven't even seen what Krivas does to this offense. And I think
Totally.
in a way it will slow down, which could disrupt some of the slashing and so in a way there may be an adjustment that may
I
not
hear
be
you.
as efficient
Be-
right away.
Because we haven't been because we've been playing because we've been playing more
Yeah.
generation from those from the outside, right? Yeah, and so if you do start generating from the in out, you're right. I could see that leading to, okay, well, there's a kick out and then a swing pass and then
Uh,
it's an open three from one of those two guys that I noted.
It'll be more
Yeah,
methodical. And
yeah,
but I think if we can, it's just a different rhythm of connectedness that I think we'll just have to see what those guys can hang with because he's going to get the ball and he's going to like survey if he's got a one-on-one, and that's going to
yeah.
take beats. And so
Hmm.
it really adjusts the rhythm. So I think it's going to be up to, has he developed to the point where that becomes worth it? Because if he can score anywhere within 12 feet over anybody, sort of like Edie, like Edie could score, like you couldn't do anything if he was going to get the shot off. His efficiency over the time of a game was going to be um, tough to beat if the other players are just playing average.
Yeah,
So I think with Krivas, if he didn't do that last year, but he showed signs of it. Whereas if we've said many times, Balo couldn't really score over people, not at the
no,
efficiency. But Krivas can. He can face up. He's got good touch with both hands. Remains to be seen. He's not going to have the power at the rim, so we're going to have to put up
right.
like little delicate layups and maybe
Little
maybe
flip
some
things.
misses. Yeah, little flips,
Yeah,
misses, and blocks.
yeah.
That'll be the trade-off with him. You like the dunker spot with Balo because it's going in, but
It'd
so I think that's going to be the tipping point. But
be
you're right.
really interesting. Yeah,
I really want to see him out there because I want to see like a couple sets with him and Henry at the same time because they're so complementary.
yeah, yeah. It's funny because there was questions about like, hey, how is Henry going to see the floor because who do you play him with?
Yeah.
And I think that as like a super big lineup, they work really, really well together. And Awaka and Townsend work really, really well as a smaller lineup. And
Yeah.
yeah, obviously you can mix those things up, but it is cool that we have that ability to run that sort of a small ball where Awaka is in no shape like small. You know, he maybe 6'8", but man, he uh, he rebounds like Ballo.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, so being able to run the small and being able to run the big is, you know, lineups will be fun. It'd be cool to see.
So that's one thing that I noticed from game one to game two. I noted that the defensive rebounding was a little bit more AAU in the first game, and I thought
Hmm.
it looked like, and this is just, armchair eye test. It looked like last night there was some really solid defensive rebounding. I think Townsend had 10. Awaka was owning it like he was the other day. It looked a little better. So
Yeah,
I feel really good about our ability to defensive rebound on this team. Um, which makes the opportunity to be a top 10 defense. I mean, that's my main concern. I really never have a concern about Tommy Lloyd's teams being able to score enough points.
sure.
Don't think that we are at the point where that becomes the concern about can you win a title. I think he can always manufacture points. I mean, even against Clemson, we almost scored 80
Uh,
points. We basically
yeah, that's true.
we forgot how to play basketball for the first 8 minutes of the game. And they were a top 35 defense. So,
Yeah,
um,
fair, fair.
and we
That was gonna be my example, by the way. I
yeah,
was like, I don't know, man. We didn't really couldn't really score points against them, but
Bill scored over a point of possession and you missed 25 threes and a bunch of free throws and terrible turn. I mean, like you can manufacture points. And
right.
I think you want to get to the point where your defense is good enough that you basically don't lose if you score 80 points. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
that,
I
that was
totally agree.
so troubling last year. You can't give up 100 points to Stanford and, you gave up 92 to a generational Purdue team, but that still, you didn't do enough, you know.
Yeah, I don't, and I don't. And yeah, you're right. And I think the personnel, this group, this roster, isn't going to put up with any of that.
Let's hope.
Yeah,
Here, so in line, maybe we finish with your coming back to another layer of your perplexity
yeah,
is the pattern of each of Tommy's teams getting us really excited early on. Um, Last year, people were talking about Keyshawn Johnson for Pac-12 Player of the Year. Were we gonna, I remember I was on that. I had my little friendly bet. People were saying we're only going to lose once or twice in the Pac-12.
yeah, yeah.
So, where are you with, how this goes from here? Like, what do you? I don't know if it's useful. I mean, you can be predictive if you want, but I
Yeah.
guess like, what do you make of that pattern and where we are now after these two games?
Yeah, I think I spoke to it a little bit that I think um I don't know how well we're going to do in the non-conference, right? Like I like us to win at Wisconsin, but Duke looks really, really tough. I don't recall exactly what the field for Atlantis is going to be. Is it a strong field? I don't who do we have in there?
Yeah, so we would play. Um,
It's like I saw it and now I
I think
forget it.
we play Providence, or else
Yeah.
we play. I'm trying to. I can't remember our first round game, and then maybe it would be like, uh, or maybe Providence, Oklahoma is a second game, and we start off against. God, why am I forgetting this? I'm not gonna talk out loud anymore. We play somebody, and then we play somebody else, and then we might play Gonzaga.
Good. Good.
I think Providence and Oklahoma. We play the winner of Providence and Oklahoma. And the first game
Okay.
might be like NC State or somebody. Maybe not NC State.
Uh,
David
Louisville,
Davidson?
Davidson's there. Yeah, could be.
Davidson. I knew it was a
Uh,
North Carolina team.
so that's not the strongest of fields, but there's some quality there. Gonzaga,
Oh,
obviously,
how
super
exciting would it
quality.
be if we finally got Gonzaga? Not
It'd
this.
be
I wouldn't be that excited about the setting,
no,
but
that'd be such a trash setting
yeah,
for
such a kind of the
the
anticlimax. Yeah.
the ballroom. Anyway, yeah. So I think this could be the year that the script flips. That the non-con isn't exactly the explosion and celebration that we've enjoyed, the last 3 years. I think we might take some lumps in the non-con, and then obviously, you look at the conference schedule, and there's a slate, and I can't count them all right now. I'm looking at Ken Palm, but it's like 8 or 9 games in a row. They're all Ken Palm A rated, and
That's
in
so
the game,
awesome.
yeah, and it's
Gauntlet.
funny. It's broken up by Utah and ASU. So it would be like 12 straight if it weren't for our Pac-12 brethren that we dragged with us to, the promised land that is the Big 12 basketball conference. Um, so yeah, I think this is a team that while I really, really, really like this team, and so this is maybe my part of my perplexion is like, gosh, on paper I really like this team. I like these individual guys. Um, I have tempered a bit on, I think they could take some L's, but hopefully be a tougher out, a more consistent group, just a team that isn't going to forget how to play basketball or kind of forget to board the plane. Um, that's a hope. These are still college kids. There's still a lot of turnover that we're dealing with. Everybody has to gel, so all those things can disrupt. But um, I'm predicting more losses than last year.
And last year we had nine. I mean, last year's team shouldn't have had nine, but they were
Yeah,
a vexing team for sure. And this year they should have 9 or 10,
yeah,
and
exactly.
they could be a way better team.
Yeah, that's a well put, very well put.
Yeah. I mean, last year, I
Yeah,
mean, we keep saying like they're going to lose more. They actually lost a lot last year, but it felt like they shouldn't have because they went 0-3 against the Pac-2. They gave up 100 points to Stanford. It was just bizarre, you know.
yeah, that
Um,
was so
up
strange.
up and down focus, and I think that's really what I'm looking for. And I keep saying it. All I want to do is root for a team that's tough as hell and competes. I every year I get envious of these teams that come out of these super tough conferences and they're 23-12 and they're a six, and then like they just roll these glossy Lamborghini teams like us. Like I don't want to be this team that's like, oh yeah, nice car, looks good in the showroom, you know.
Yeah,
And that's what Arizona is to the rest of the country. And
yeah. We
now
are
we're gonna
Lightning
get,
McQueen trying to drive
yes,
a dirt track,
that's
just
right.
sliding out.
That's right. And
We're watching a lot of cars in Mike household.
apparently, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're at a good stage for that. It's
Yeah.
worthwhile. Yeah, and so I think we could be the 23-12 team this year that um you know, Cats fans are adjusting to the calibration, right, of that, and then all of a sudden you get in as a 4 or 5, and no one seed wants to see you because you're
Yeah,
out.
because you're nasty. You've been in a bunch of knife fights. Yeah.
And I don't think that the you know the rhetoric around being battle tested is not so much about the level of difficulty. I think it's about what you get as a byproduct of those teams. Those teams make you go through multiple actions. They
Yeah.
test you in your will to stay connected for long periods of time on defense. It's not so easy. And that's where like a team like Arizona is, it'll be really important for us to pay attention when we play these teams where we have to play really connected defense or else they're just going to get layups, right? Or we
And
have
that's
to,
what I'm thirsting for.
yeah, that's what you're like. We really just haven't seen it. So we've got Canisius Monday, and then do we have another bye game before Wisco? Yeah, we have like, I think
Yeah, to Old Dominion
ODU is a solid team.
on that Saturday following. Yeah.
Canisius is not great. ODU is a solid team, and then we go to Madison, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's crazy.
which will
Um,
be a legitimate environment. Even if the team's a little down. Are you saying Wisconsin's a little down?
yeah, I think so, but I'm looking at Bart Torvik has it as a coin flip. So don't don't think we're just waltzing out of there with the W. I think Ken Palm had it as maybe like a 3 point game to us. Yeah, 3 point game to us. Which is like a 60-40 game. So
Yeah.
darn near a coin flip. So yeah, that'll be a very, very competitive game. And then followed up 1 week later, we'll dust ourselves off and check the film, no matter which way it goes. And then we've got Duke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and Duke just feasted on, little brother up north. So let's not let him do it twice, I guess.
So, okay, I'm resisting some joke there. Would would you rather be 23-11 and a 4 seed in the West, or 28-4? Wait, did I do that right? 28 and 6. I'm assuming we're gonna make it to the Big 12 title game. 28 and be a 1 seed after winning the Big 12 title over Kansas.
Yeah, I'd really win a lot more. I'd, yeah, I'd prefer us to win more games. That is
Mhm.
always my preference. I hear you though. That going through those losses teaches you, right? Um, but that's a presumption that's the kind of team we are, and hopefully it is. We went through some losses last year. I'm not sure
Didn't learn
if we
shit.
did. Yeah. did, did you learn anything?
It seemed to get
Because
worse after
because
every
you, cause you went
supposed,
to Oregon
supposed
State
wake
and
up call was putting us further to sleep.
um yeah, if I have dreams of us joining the Big 12 and
Just
going to
roll
the
forward.
top of the mountain. Yeah, that'd be very, very, very cool. Um, so yeah, that's what I would prefer. Um,
It could
but
happen. It could happen. I mean, I don't think it will, but I think this team is going to be not fun to play. I don't I know we'll have a couple rough nights, no doubt. And it's probably not going to be against Kansas and Iowa State and Baylor. It's probably going to be like at K-State or at Texas Tech or
yeah,
probably at BYU, right? When the players are like, what are we going up here for? And then you're at elevation and you're down 20 before you
yeah, you get rocked.
totally. Um, but I think, I said before the season, I said 13-7. I think that would be a pretty admirable finish in with this schedule. But
Yeah,
I could also see 14-6, and if everything popped and we got again really lucky with injuries, 15-5 for sure.
that would be 15-5 would be like oh my
Amazing.
God, how
Yeah.
did we pull that off?
Yep.
13-7, by the way, is Ken Palm's estimate.
Oh, is it?
That's their projection. So way to
None.
just lift that,
Yeah.
So you got to attribute. You can't just
I
take
did
things from
not.
people.
I don't have that access to that level of pen.
uh, Bart Torvik likes us less, but he doesn't even have Mo Krivas playing, strangely. So he needs to fix some stuff. He's got us at 12-8. Um, in any case, it will be fun to watch those games, and I really do believe that by the time that we get to the Big 12 play, that this is going to be a much more exciting team to watch and root for because I think we will have developed those layers, which I'm clearly kind of fiending for right now to see. They're not there for a good reason. We haven't needed them, and we're not because we're not playing the level of competition that requires it. And this is it's still plenty of turnover relatively.
Mm,
Um, so I think it's going to be fun to see us once we do get to the Big 12 and it's really clicking and you go, watch out,
mm.
watch out.
It would be so satisfying to get in there and just like push everyone around. I'm
Now
not
we're
going to set myself up for that, but
now
that's
we're yeah.
that's like growing up watching too many Rocky movies. But all right, totally
We're the good
inappropriate.
guys.
Totally
We're the
inappropriate.
good guys,
Yeah, right.
America,
Of course, every team is a good guy.
in our story. Yeah.
Totally inappropriate proposition before we end. All right,
Uh,
Krivas, Vasar, Bryant. How many come back next year?
Ooh. God, gut reaction says all three, but
Woo!
yeah. I just don't. Yeah, I don't know if any of them do enough to punch through this year. I'm not as high on Krivas as Krivas is getting like hey, he's gonna go in the first round, like 11th, 17th pick or something hype. Um, I like Krivas a lot. I don't know if I think he's probably a year away from that. But and then Henry, I don't know that he's gonna have the minutes and opportunity with the Waka there. And similar with CB with Bryant, he's playing behind KJ Lewis. The skill and everything that his potential is nuts. And so I could see him going, coming off the bench and still going in the middle of the first round. But
Totally.
um, yeah, I'd like to think right now I'm a little more worried about the guard group. Jaden and KJ look like, I would draft them right now.
Oh yeah.
So
I think
so
KJ for
that
sure. KJ
that's
for
my
sure.
that's my bigger fear. I don't know, man. Jaden looks every bit like an NBA guard right now.
Oh,
With it,
I,
but look who he's
I
playing.
told you, I don't
So,
think he's coming back either. I don't know if
yeah,
he could be a free agent, kids just don't they just don't
yeah,
stay. And it's like there's a perception that if you stay too long, then it's almost like having a house on the market too long. Is
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like the
Like
way that,
clearly there's something wrong.
right? And it's unfortunate because it's not necessarily doesn't have to be the case, but I assume we're losing the starting backcourt, and that's not me
That's
being
interesting.
negative. I just kind of see the trends. I mean, he would be I mean, he's a McDonald's All-American. How many McDonald's All-American point guards who play as well as he has and will this year stay 4 years? It's just
Yeah,
an
again,
anomaly, and it
if
could.
he could, if he plays like he's playing right now, then no chance, obviously. But and good for him. I'd love for him to
Yeah,
go if that's his output. Um, yeah, I mean, somebody probably does have to leave that front court group.
right.
Uh, just by the nature of it, somebody probably will.
Carter
I'd
Bryant's
like to think.
going to get a lot of good draft feedback.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm so excited to see how he develops throughout the season.
Yeah.
He's such a thoughtful guy. His interviews are so great. You can
Humble.
tell yeah, very humble. You can
That's
tell he's
why.
soaking it all up.
That's why he's going to
Um,
go because they're
yeah,
going to. Well, I mean, they're gonna he's gonna rate off the charts in terms of coachability and his psychology,
the
and
interviews are going to be like, oh my
oh,
gosh.
they're gonna be he's gonna be one of these guys who's like, well, we're just gonna test the draft, and then they're gonna be like, well,
He's like, oh, it turns out they want to take me with the 12th pick.
oh
Like, yeah,
yeah.
okay, man.
I mean, how could you say no? I mean, his
Yeah,
his shot and his footwork, his ability to gather. I'm thinking about even comping like Andre Iguodala, who's couldn't make a jump shot till he was like a 10-year pro, really.
yeah,
And this kid looks like his jumper is well honed. I think he's got a long way to go in understanding how to play the game in a team concept, but the NBA doesn't really draft on that.
no, it doesn't.
It
And
says,
and he's going to pick up a ton
yeah,
just
he's
being
gonna
in
pick
this
it
group
up.
this year.
Yeah,
He's going
he's
to pick up
gonna
so much.
totally. He's six
Yeah,
with a good enough vertical, and his feet are getting better, his hips are getting better, and he can shoot. I mean, his shot looks better than I expected. Like
yeah.
he pulls up on some of those when he pulls from three, red, blue, and both these exhibitions. Now, by the third game, the first game, I was like, no. Second, the second game, I was like, dang, he made it again. And then last night, I'm like, yeah, that's a shot you got to
This
defend.
is his shot.
He's gonna make that. And so I hope that that can continue because what a dimension he brings. I mean, it's a special
I
blend. I hope we get him for 2 years. I'm
I'd hate to lose him, but I'd love to see him go. That kind of thing, if he blows up to a point where and it's like, all right, man.
Can you imagine though if we did, knock on wood, if we do end up with Pete, which is looking more hopeful than it has,
Yeah.
you end up with Krivas, Vasar, Pete, and Bryant as your sort of like 3 through 5 plus 1.
And where's the Waka? Is the Waka still here? I
And
mean,
then you still have a
yeah,
walk.
that's where it's like,
That's where it gets dicey.
yeah, that's where it's an embarrassment where it's like, wait a minute, you can't have all
And then you have a Waka.
that.
So
Yeah. So
even if you don't get Pete, if you get Bryant back, then I don't know. These guys, you're really gonna have Henry Vasar and Awaka coming off the bench again. I don't know, but it's an embarrassment.
can't believe it if it's true.
Okay, that's why I said it's an inappropriate proposition, but I was thinking about it and listening to you guys talk about Bryant and watching him, I'm like, this is he was made in a modern NBA lab for wings.
Yeah, I mean, you'd want him to come back and play the three like 32
Hmm.
minutes a game kind of
Hmm.
thing, and then just wreak havoc.
Hmm.
Um, as a far too big and far too skilled guy to be playing the three in college.
Hmm.
Um,
Paul George, that's my
yeah,
comp for him. That's my
yeah,
that's
and
my
then
ceiling comp.
yeah, if you have Pete at the, yeah. I mean, if you don't have Pete at the four, but you're able to bring back Henry and
Mhm.
Awaka,
Take it.
um, and Krivas, if you had all three of those guys, it's like that's pretty good actually.
I wonder, to me, and this is the last thing I gotta get going, but um,
Yeah.
I
Once
wonder.
once we're speculating about drafted, we know we should have wrapped up.
We should have wrapped up long ago. You should be on your third bourbon again. I just wonder if Krivas fits in with this group socially, as
Hmm.
as I'm watching on the bench and reading things. I'm just getting it may not matter, but I'm just getting the sense that maybe he's a little bit more of a loner, and
Yeah,
that loners have less of a reason to stick around. And I'm not saying he'll be ready for the draft or not, but just that there's
I hear you.
more of a freedom to be like, well, I got a lot of I'm 7'2", 270 with lots of skills. I can do a lot of things.
Yeah,
He could
yeah,
get,
I could
he
see
could
that.
be an early second round pick and just be like, yeah, I want to get on with my life. But
I mean,
that
it
is
wouldn't be the worst call.
that's a huge guess on my
Yeah.
part. I have no solid info.
I love your newfound enjoyment of deep speculation. Just
That was a deep one. Yeah. But just watching him, he's always sort of at the end of the bench. He's never talking to anyone on the bench. He's engaged, but he's not like jumping out of the gym when somebody makes a dunk. He's very
oh, he's got a boot
understated.
on. He's got a.
He better not anymore. Does he still? I didn't see him with a boot on.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the one thing about Tommy that a little bit annoys me is he is squirrely around injuries. He does
he's so
not
squirrely.
like he is so like I just rather have him say like, yeah, he's gonna be out for 3 to 4 weeks. Like he was saying he would play in red blue if it was a real game. Come on, that was like 3.5 weeks ago.
Yeah, he's still not playing, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm leaving it up to him and J Rock. It's like, wait a minute. Was it a green light or is it now? Now it's a yellow light. Like, what are we talking about here?
He just plays so aloof. He's like, I don't know. I don't have anything to do with that. If they tell me he'll play.
He's like, I haven't been in those conversations. It's like, oh, really? Really? Is
You
that
know what
true?
though? I can as a former coach, I can really appreciate how maddening it is to get
Yeah,
like involved in injuries because they just tear your heart out. It's like always
yeah.
right when the team is about to take off, and then it's like, hey man, this kid came in this morning. I think he's got a torn Achilles, and you're like, oh.
Oh my gosh,
And so I can appreciate actually probably what he did at some point was just like remove himself because emotionally it's like I can't.
you can't control it,
Let me
and
just,
yeah,
yeah, like what's the point anyway? I can't control it. I may as well just focus on who shows up to practice and go from there. So I think he's playing a little aloof, but I also appreciate the psychological boundary because otherwise, like you just would
compartmentalizing it. Yeah,
never sleep as a coach. It's just like you should have seen the head coach I worked for, man. He would be up like just spinning about like, is this guy gonna be okay? Is this guy gonna be okay? And it's
it's
like,
brutal.
oh man. It's hard. So I appreciate it, but sometimes I wish he'd just be like, yeah, he's got a minor stress fracture. He's going to be out 4 weeks, and we're hoping to have him back here. And that's
Yeah, no, we didn't. We chose not to do surgery. He's
right.
responding well to treatment. Here's some video of him in the with
In
the
the
underwater
treadmill.
treadmill, and be like, oh, thank goodness. Okay, yeah, um, yeah, he doesn't do that. We don't get that.
Well, next week, you and I and maybe our handful of subscribers will appreciate that we should have some real data. Um,
This is
I'll,
going to be a blast.
we're going to get into some data again, Mike.
We're going to get into some data. I'm really, really excited for it. It's
Yeah,
been frustrating not to be able to have
I
some
know.
stuff to pick at, and it'll
Totally.
be like the world's smallest sample size, obviously, but that is never going to stop us from
Never.
speculating.
So I always neglect to thank the people. Our subscriber base has grown. Over the past year, we've been doing this for just about exactly a year. So just
Yeah.
want to say thank you to all the. I sometimes forget that people actually listen. So
I
um,
thought this was you and me. I didn't know you
I know,
posted this anywhere.
I know. So just Wildcat fans, thanks for chiming in. If you have any ideas, statistically or otherwise, about things you'd like us to take deep dives on, please leave them in the comments. Sign up for Wildcat Authority. That board is really chock full of smart, neurotic people like us who who live and die by the red and blue. And
Yeah, it's a great
yeah,
community too.
for all the
Just
Wildcat
a
Authority folks, we love you. We want ideas. We want little snippets. Um,
help, help
Come
me.
on, give us little data dumps that we can make something out of, or like, hey, check out how this compared to the 2003. Well, don't go back far back because they don't have advanced metrics. Check out how this looks with 2015 Sean Miller. You know, take an angle. I've said far too much. Let's stop.
I like it.
Okay, bear down, everyone. We'll see you hopefully next week.